Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Real Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler. On this, let's see what today's date is. 7th day of May. Got a great show with you on for tonight. Going to talk the NBA playoffs. OG Anunoby day to day with the calf strain. Going to ask the Mad New Yorker about that. Knicks are playing great, but he is the second leading scorer. He's questionable for Game 3. Also, going to talk about. Listen, this Jaylen Brown situation with the Celtics. I mean, maybe they should just make a trade with the Denver Nuggets. I'll bring that up with the Mad New Yorker, and also want to remember Ted Turner, founder of CNN, TBS, but also former Atlanta Braves owner, Atlanta Hawks. I forgot he owned the Atlanta Hawks as well. Passed away since the last time I spoke to you. Got a clip from him, got a few thoughts on Ted Turner, a little bit of background information on him. Pretty interesting motivational story about his life and whatnot. And, of course, get the Mad New Yorker's thoughts on, like I talked about the other day, the late, great John Sterling, Yankees play-by-play guy, had passed away at 80. I want to say he was 87 also, around the same age. So stand by, folks. We'll take our first and only break, and I'll be back here momentarily. And we'll hit the ground running here on the Real Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. Also, folks, want to shout out to my man, Hagen Graves here. He was an Uber rider here. Took him to the airport. Hagen, appreciate that tip today. One of the most modest people I've ever met, Hagen. And I'm saying this with sincerity. I was telling Hagen about Sports Scope and this program on the way in. And at the very end of the conversation, you said you're a former wide receiver for Idaho State, a Division I football player, and just, no ego whatsoever. And like I said, the offer still stands. Man, you're welcome to come on. I would actually take it a step forward. I would like for you to come on the program, interview you, talk about the wide receiver position. I know you said you emulated a guy like a Cooper Kupp and whatnot. Shout out to my man in Chicago, works in the logistics business now. He's originally from the Boise, Idaho area. Hagen Graves here. And thank you, brother, for the tip. Really appreciate that. And I appreciate the follow here on the X app as well. So all that being said, wanted to get that shout out to all the new subscribers I've got from Uber. I want to thank you guys. I'm working a lot, okay? Working a lot of hours. And those kind of small conversations really mean a lot to me, and especially when I look and see that you've actually subscribed to the channel. So all that being said, I've got the Mad New Yorker backstage. I want to bring him up here. Have a round of applause. Great crowd. I know you've got to be bittersweet. The Knicks are up 2-0, playing the best basketball I've seen them play since they acquired Jalen Brunson. Quite frankly, they played the best basketball I've seen them play probably since 1994. But you know what? That's another story. The story today is their second leading scorer, OG Anunoby, out. He's day-to-day with this calf strain. What's your thoughts about that, and how well the team has been playing, Carlos?
Yeah, first, thank you for having me on. Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday. Let's get ready for Friday. We ain't sleeping, bro. We're not sleeping. A lot of sports going on, man.
Yeah, I know. I'm tired as I'll get out. So,
let me tell you. So I'm excited that the Knicks are doing well. Everybody feels good here in the city. The injury hurts a little bit, but our bench I would say the Knicks' bench right now has been deep. It's been formidable as far as being competitive. There
Yeah.
have been a couple injured guys already this year. Even OG was out a little bit. So, I feel confident that they'll be competitive and that this this actual team will, could complete its job and finish off the Sixers as long as they keep playing and not making those small mistakes that we talked about last week. Where Towns is just hanging out on the 3-point line and making those terrible passes sometimes, or they don't make that extra pass that they need to. When they move the ball, when they move as a team, when they play defense to get those rebounds, offense and defense, when they do the small things, they play big. They even were able to catch up, and they got caught up with this team and with the 76ers yesterday, and it was good to see that they were able to get past their small-minded basketball. I call it small-minded because a lot of players will take it within themselves to try to do extra things when they could just do the thing and then play team basketball and be good at it as a team. When they just dump the ball to Brunson and they don't look to get the ball back, or they just kind of start taking 3-pointers because they're not a 3-point taking team, they're not good at that. There's some guys that are good at taking threes, but the whole team just starts throwing up threes. It's not a good look for them. It shows disparity, and then also gets them slower back to running the floor. So, but yeah, I like what they're doing. I'm upset that OG's out, but again, so these things tend to happen in playoffs.
Yeah.
And we'll see what. Hopefully, there's a positive. There's more of a positive attitude with OG being hurt as far as playing the next game without him than there was the attitude that the 76ers had with their big guy not playing this past game. Yeah. So Embiid, as far as Embiid playing this past game, so or even other games. So I just think it's a different mentality from the team, and it's a better mentality than they would have had years past.
Yeah, that's a good point. And what you said earlier, I noticed it too. Brunson, I don't know if you caught this in the first half. He's on a fast break. I'm thinking he's going to take a pull-up jumper. He finds a player coming to the rim, does that pass. I don't know if you caught that on a fast break, catches a guy underneath the basket. And I thought that's the kind of Brunson we need. He needs to be more of a distributor and stop having that high usage rate. He needs to manage that energy for the second half. He's doing better at that. And like you said, with Towns not playing at the 3-point line, I'm seeing him get to the rim more. You've also had Mitch Robertson was out the other night. He had an illness. I don't know if he had the flu or something or a bug. And then you've got your guy, Josh Hart, who's questionable with a thumb injury. And the Knicks just seem to be rolling. And I was looking at their depth chart or their playlist, if you want to call it that, of bench play. They had 11 players play on last night's game. That is so unlike Tom Thibodeau, who wants to play 6 or 7 guys and have 45 minutes per starter playing, and then you're going to have more injury situations and more fatigue factor. So kudos to Mike Brown, is doing a very good job pulling all the levers right now. I'm a little concerned about he could possibly come back. If it's me, I try to hold him out to possibly game 5. Even if they lose the next 2, you still got game 5 back in Madison Square Garden. These calf injuries can be very risky at times, and it does seem pretty mild. But I hate that term day to day, because that's the most bland term that you ever hear. We'll see how this thing plays out. But I still think the Knicks are going to win this series. Do you still you think they're maybe in trouble in this series? What's your thoughts about the series as a whole?
Right now they're positive moment, positive thinking. Even being able to catch up after being down in the second, third quarters yesterday, they came back. So that means that they're even. See, when they were playing during the season and they fell down by 10, then by 12 and 15, they always came back to play up and catch up. But this time they didn't stay. They was going bucket to bucket, bucket to bucket, and they was trying to actually not just catch up, but get the lead, which is not what was happening towards the middle of the season. They were just trying to play catch up and kind of win the game at the end. This game, it looked like they were trying to come back and actually win the game, not just catch up. And that's a different mentality all along. And I was saying you have to be careful with rooting for this team because they're not playing big. They're not playing. They don't have like an enforcer on the team. They're not as tough as they wanted. But the thing that they do have is they have perseverance. They can become determined, and they can catch. Some of these guys can catch while they're shooting. You can catch fire, and then so you can't sleep on them and run them over just yet. And on the flip side, don't give the other teams the opportunity to get you down. So I feel confident that they're going to be competitive, but you don't see that toughness edge like Detroit, like the Boston Celtics have a little bit of an edge. Even the 76ers without Embiid, they're kind of they're kind of bullies, man. They'll hit you up and they'll trip you and they'll push you and they'll try to play some defense and a little bit more than they should. But again, the Knicks, they're not at that level, but they do have their own little type of how can I say, identity, right? So they know who they are, they know who the stars are, and the thing is they're just starting to culminate and get everything together right now, and it's a positive way. It's a different kind of identity you have, but you sleep on them, and they can't sleep thinking just because they won a few games that's going to take them to the top. So
this is the best winning streak they've had in a number of years here in the playoffs. Here, we'll see how this thing plays out. That's going to be a good series. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and I just want to be a realist. Like I hear in the media and all these people, we're gonna, in 5 and 5, and it's like, yo, calm down. Like, we here in New York have seen this team play themselves out of games so many times, even though they play back into the games, and that's not how you can win at being in the playoffs. So that's why I feel like I can't root for them in a sense and expect that they're going to win a whole championship game right now.
Yeah, it's got to be a game by game approach because they're not a consistently locked down defensive team. So I can understand that. But you know what? They're playing well. Let's see how they react to. I mean, like I said, he's playing the best basketball of his career before this injury. It's a second leading scorer on the team. I think he's behind Brunson per se. So 21.4 points a game, getting the ball to the rack. He's been really impressive, man. That was a good trade a few years ago to get him at the trade deadline.
I know if Brunson gives me 30 plus, that's a good game. If he goes above 40, that's a great game for him, but that's not a good game for the Knicks.
Yeah, he needs to be more of a distributor.
Yeah.
And not to be so ball dominant. He's gotten better at that during this winning streak. I mean, he's really dishing it off, and everybody's playing their role.
There you go. Yes.
Yeah.
That's a good way.
Parsons and somebody else had a big game the other night too. Let me see.
Alvarado has been in the mix.
Yeah. Clarkson had in 21 minutes for McBride there. Now Brunson did have 41 and Josh Hart had 44. Everybody else under 40 minutes there. Towns only 27 and 20 points and 10 rebounds, 7 assists. I mean, Towns is playing great. He's playing distributor basketball as well. He's not hanging out at that 3-point line. We'll see how it plays out. If Mitch Robertson can stay healthy, they still have a chance here, I think. As things go along, I like their chances. Other than the other series, I don't think that's really interesting. Cleveland. Now, Cleveland may surprise me and run off a few wins against Detroit, but it looks like it's going to be Detroit, New York. If New York can manage this injury here, and God knows about Embiid. I picked up my man, I think it was Hakeem the other day from Philadelphia, and he was all hyped up about the 76ers getting to this point. But, the guy plays, I like Embiid, but man, he played 35 games this year. He's hurt all the time. I mean, what are you going to do about this guy? If he's healthy, man, they could win a championship. They got so much balance on Philadelphia.
Yeah, and we have this conversation every so often about Embiid. As much as he's an MVP candidate, maybe 3 seasons prior, it's not that he's not a good basketball player. It's the availability factor. This is the first guy who has such a great record on the basketball court as far as being able while he's playing. But this is like one of the first players who actually now has been injured more in his career than he's been on the actual court. So I don't want to take away from his abilities and his agility and what he does when he's on the basketball court. But if I'm a GM, I'm worried because I can't be paying him not to be on a basketball court.
He's like a rotational player, in my opinion. Now, I like Embiid, but geez, man, probability is availability. I want to move on to this other interesting series here. The Spurs and this Minnesota series. Man, Minnesota was 2-1 against them in the regular season. Had no idea that Anthony Edwards had a snowman's chance of coming back. He comes back in game 1. They end up winning the game. He's on a minutes restriction. He's playing like 23, 24 minutes a game coming back from this hyperextended knee here. And this team matches up well. They didn't have DiVincenzo. They win game 1, despite the fact that, Wemby had 12, 13 blocks in that first game. Only had 2 blocks in the second game. San Antonio comes back, bounces back. Now it goes back to Minnesota, but the fact that Minnesota won game 1, I still not sure if Edwards is going to be able to hold up coming back from that injury in this high intense playoff situation. I still like the Spurs to win this series, but I think it's probably going to go 6. Spurs are still a very young team, and you could see that in some of the errors they made. I thought they should have took a timeout. Their coach is young too. Finch, the coach for Minnesota, he's got a coaching edge. They should have took a timeout in game 1 and set up a shot rather than the guy just running out throw. That's NCAA stuff. That's rookie, young players, young coach not thinking on their feet there in that situation. But I still like the Spurs in this series. What do you think about that series and how it's played out so far between Minnesota and San Antonio, man?
First of all, whether he took the timeout or not wouldn't change anything. I think the reality, and he said it the most, even to his team, was the fact that we shouldn't have been having to take that shot at the end. Yeah. They should have been up. They should have been up 10 points, or could have been up 10 points, and they didn't take advantage of their situation. And so their fault is not that fact that they missed that 3-point shot. Their fault was that they didn't make those plays that they had to make, and then the fouls. And foul situation that they got in. So, and I'm glad that he said those things and they got over it. The media's like, oh, well, the timeout.
Well, man, the game 2.
You can't win on trying to on a shot. That's not how you should win basketball. That's the worst way to try to win basketball, which is how Boston ended up out on the streets for sure.
Yeah, we'll talk Boston here in a little bit. Yeah.
So, this Timberwolves team, I'm going to give credit to a person I usually have criticized before in the past, former Knicks player, and that's Randall. He stepped it up.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
He
gets lost in the shuffle, don't he?
Yeah, but the thing with him is that when he gets – this is the thing that the Lakers, when they had him also, is like when he gets consistent, he not only just makes better shots inside, stays inside. His game is, and gets those offensive, defensive rebounds. He also distributes the ball very well and finds an open guy when he knows he can't get that shot. And he doesn't force up things to make it hard on himself. But I think that's one of the things that he hates about playing all the time inside, and why he tries to run outside and get those shots, near the 3-point line or 20 plus. However, he's done a good job with the Timberwolves. He's the guy who's not green on that team, and he's also the one that's been able to solidify the defense a little bit by getting the defensive rebounds and also getting in there trying to block shots. So, and with Wemby, he's even there, playing tug of war with him, even though this guy's a foot taller than he is. So, like, it's good to see him put down his two legs in inside the game and get that fight going for them. Well, that's my kudos to him. This team in Minnesota is young. They don't give up. They're scrappy, and they're gonna make this series. I think this is gonna go to 7.
They're an older team with one young player, and that's Edwards. Gobert is an older player. Randall's an older player. Conley's an ancient player.
Oh, well, they got the guys that come off the bench that have been because of DiVincenzo injury.
They got some young guys off.
You got those guys there, yeah. So there's a little bit of a balance there between youth and age, and
they're a veteran team compared to San Antonio.
no, compared to San Antonio for sure. But as far as the the trajectory there, I see this team very, very a lot of perseverance, man. They don't quit. There's no quitting them.
And you see Minnesota winning this series?
I think they're going to take it to. They're going to probably take it to 7, and I don't think that they have enough stamina or depth to win on the 7th game, but they'll push it to the max. I think.
Yeah.
The things that you mentioned are going to be the reasons why they won't be able to go over a hump, and that's having their most energy player, the most last minute guy, the guy that comes out and in the fourth quarter and gives them those 3 shots and they're back in the game. And Edwards, if he's not in the game, that takes away from that.
Something. My biggest issue with Minnesota over the years, they hem-haul all throughout the regular season, and they end up with a 6 seed. Instead of a 1 or 2, where you don't have to press so hard in the first round, in the second round, to get there. And they end up getting to the Western Conference Finals last few years. Well, if you had a better seed, you'd probably have a ring by now, But and you say, well, it's injuries, it's this, it's that. It just seems like that seems to be the regular thing. And then they upset a team, and they upset a Denver. And you see them. But by the time they get to that Western Conference Finals or in the middle of that second round, like we are right now, they're starting to run out of gas. Now, that could be, if you're a Timberwolves fan, you got to be frustrated with that same pattern with them. Hadn't you noticed that with them?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest patterns that they have had in the past is after that whole team that they had Marbury and Garnett, and then who was the other guy they had?
I forgot the other guy's name too, but he was a good shooter, man.
Yeah, he was a shooter.
As a forward, Spanish guy, I want to say.
No, it wasn't Spanish. Willie. He played for. No, he's a Knicks commentator right now. Zerbiak.
Yeah, he is Spanish. No. Was he European?
I think his family's from Polish. But anyways.
Oh, okay. Zerbiak. Yeah, that's a good memory. Yeah. Sprewell played on that team too, I want to say.
Then you got we know about Sprewell. But but after those teams, like guys that
they pushed the Lakers, almost beat the Kobe and Shaq Lakers one year.
After that team, they've always gotten players. They moved on from players, and then the players that they got, they didn't get all the potential out of them, right? Even if you mentioned the name in Gobert, had they gotten what Gobert was in
Utah,
you got some of that play from them. There wouldn't be question about whether this team can beat, can beat
San Antonio.
Yeah, San Antonio at this moment, because a guy like Gobert, you're talking about, even at one point was an MVP candidate until towards the end of the season, where in the 20 games where he because he was having triple double, well, not triple double. He had double doubles, and he was scoring a lot of points up there and he was an all-star player.
He's not a scorer nowadays. He's more of a defender.
Yeah. So, but you don't get a player. They paid a lot for him, and they haven't gotten a ROI on him.
He's got to be more of an off. He just never take that next step offensively with this team and unit.
Right. Plus, he's
an older player now.
Yeah. Plus, these past 2 weeks, he's actually stepped up a little bit. Well, now because of injury, but also because he has to, because this is where he's needed the most now, and being in the inside present. So, like, they was trying to get this guy DiVincenzo. They were trying to piece together teams, and that the players are not. It wasn't balancing out on the court, right? So. Yeah. Now this team is, primed and been playing together a little bit, and the older guys are starting to get it, and it's just a different attitude. But again, what you're saying is correct. They've been on a precipice for the last, and they keep going to the same routine, and maybe you're right. Maybe they need to switch it up. Maybe they need to do something different.
Maybe they do something different during the regular season. Okay, let's go back to last week. Boston blows this 3-game lead, the 3-1 lead. Jaylen Brown, I'm sure you've probably seen it. I've heard it. People on the internet, our audience, there's some indications that he's frustrated with the way the organization is going right now. I don't blame him for that. I think this team is very 3-ball reliant. The coach has a lot to do with that, and they have a lot of cap issues between his salary and Jason Tatum's salary. Listen, I talked about Denver earlier this week on my show when I did a show Monday and recorded it. Everybody, including the Joker, would be on the trading block if you get a right offer for a Joker. And I was thinking about it this morning before the program. Maybe Joker for a Jason Tatum type of trade. That would be something I would look into. Denver's got to get more athletic, and Boston has lost all their bigs. They need a big. I would like to do something like that, or possibly move Brown in some pieces there and get some more depth there as well. One of them, they've won a championship together. They're on verge of being this great team that you look back 10 years from now and you think with that squad there that they've had over the years, they really smart front office between Danny Ainge and Brad Stevens and the coach in there and the great players that they've had. And they only had one championship. They kind of remind me of the Atlanta Braves of the 90s, where they just did not get enough. I think the fact that they've got their championship, I think it's time to kind of break things up and move one of the Tatum or Browns. What do you think about that aspect of it? And maybe the idea of possibly doing a blockbuster. Now, salary-wise, yeah, you couldn't probably get Tatum directly for Joker. Boston had to give up something else. I understand salaries have to match and all that, but that's what you pay your general managers for. What do you think about the idea of Boston possibly should break up? We'll start with that question, and then you go on with the other stuff, not to overload you.
No, the biggest problems with these older players, plus 27, 30, is the fact that the teams that you want other players from are 20 to 25 average. The Sacramentos, the Hornets, these Orlando. You got these guys, you got these teams you want to pull players from, and they're fast and they move, and you want your team to be like that. But you got these guys that they're not super slow, but they're gonna slow your game up. And so what teams want to slow down, right?
Yeah.
It's not just like, shot for shot. It's scheming, and it's availability, ability, and you're playing 80 plus games. Can this guy
You're saying you can't trade them? Is that what you're saying they're untradeable?
You'll be able to move them, but you're not going to get what you want. But I feel like Boston, the way they're going about things, how they're shooting up threes, they want to make this game faster for them, for their team. They want to get faster. The only way to do that is to get younger. You can't get older players and gonna be fast, And there's guys like maybe one or two, but they're not. Even though they play fast, they don't help your team. Guys like Westbrook now is a little bit older now, but the guys that were like Westbrook, like, oh, if we get Westbrook, we can play faster. But these guys now, Joker and Brown, they're players that are systematic based, and if there's not a system that's set up for them to be good at, they're not going to make a team better, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Because
I disagree. I don't think that's
game now. Yeah. It's such a fast game now. People are shooting more threes. You put these guys in games, you see the game has to slow down for them to be predominant and be power and use their skill set, right? Like, even with Tatum, like he's not slow. He's got quickness, but he's not going to run back and forth, run back. You'll see them when they're playing the first half, how fast they'll start taking breaks for these guys, because they're not going to play a speed game, and they're getting older. Tatum's not going to come back from a leg injury. So, you have to actually get players that will complement you, not speed the game up too much for you, because then they have to be part of that running up and down, so.
Yeah. Well, I don't see it that. I think they need to get bigger, and I do think the teams are taking too many threes. That's why you got all these bigs left in the playoffs. You look at all the bigs that are left in the playoffs. They need to slow their game down inside and stop taking those threes. That's the problem addicted to them.
Right. I mean, listen, do you feel like the game is slowing down? It's getting slower again? Or do you think
no, teams are playing fast. You could slow, how you slow a team down with ball movement and cuts, and you do pick and rolls. You have good ball handlers. You don't run up and you take shots when nobody's under the rim, and you have basketball. A problem that your Knicks were having for a little while. And like I said earlier, that Brunson's making that second, third pass. You use the clock a little bit, getting your sets. I think that will win. Of course, the pace of the game is getting much faster. Yeah, but these guys ain't that old. 28's not that bad.
Yeah, but it's not.
Joker's 32, so that's player for player. You're not even listening to my argument here, Chief.
Yeah,
Joker's 32, Tatum's 28. That's player for player. You throw another player with. You throw a Derek White in there and a couple draft picks, you might be able to make that work for Boston. I'm sure the Denver fans may spew that, but listen, I don't know what could you move Gordon and Jamal Murray for Jaylen Brown and some draft picks the other way? Possibly, but I do think there needs to be some changes with these teams. And I would move either one of those players if I could. Now, of course, with the Tatum, obviously, you're going to have a cap issue with Joker there as well. But you're trying to win now if you're Boston, right?
Right.
32 is not 37. That's our other center who's hurt, of course. Go ahead.
These guys coming back from injuries, like for instance in Denver, Murray has been injured often.
Yeah.
So coming back from a major injury. Tatum's coming back from a major injury. Like, you're right, they're player for player, but maybe you make that move. Maybe you do Jamal Murray and Gordon for Tatum and a draft pick, something like that.
Maybe Brown.
Or flip it for Brown, yeah.
Brown in the draft pick.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean,
Brown's a pretty good athlete, and they got to get more athletic. It's food for thought. And then you say, well, if you traded Joker, what are you going to do about a big man? What about the big from Michigan? This guy, his stock is going up. The guy that's like 7'3", I'm talking about, that's on championship team.
Yes.
He's potentially a first-round draft pick. This Michigan Wolverine, you might be able to get him in the mid-teens. This is supposed to be a historically good draft, by the way, coming up in June, which the lottery, I think, is this weekend, if I'm not mistaken, or coming up later on this week. If not early next week, they're going to have the draft lottery. That's going to be a big deal. This is a big-time draft. Giannis could be moved at this draft. So it's some interesting things. All that being said, I do think the league should probably address making it easier to move your roster around. You know, maybe that would help the tanking stuff. How are we going to get better if we can't tank? You know, you're not letting us do roster construction with all these aprons, and then you got the matching salaries. Make it like the NFL, where you can cut a player, but you'll have, you know, you're going to have some dead cap that you have to deal with. But I don't know why an NBA is very frustrating with some of the way they do things.
It is, and but a lot of it is team and control of contracts, and like, I mean, look at Sacramento. They were cutting players left and right. And moving players left and right. They moved Halliburton. They moved one of the it was moving.
Well, they put Aaron Fox.
Yeah,
he wanted to be moved.
they're moving a lot of guys there and on that team because they played 2 or 3 years together, and they're like, nope, it's not going to work, you know. And they're moving these guys, you know. So there's teams that do it a lot more than other teams. Teams like Boston is, you know, it'll take time to make those changes. 76ers took time to make changes. They're trying to, you know, they have a fan base that they have to cater to that is very, you know, can be very, you know, loud. And so same thing with the Knicks, you know, like when they want to make moves, you know, like, you know, I don't want to see Giannis on the Knicks squad for sure.
I think the Knicks are set. I don't know if I'm the Knicks, I do that. I've heard about Golden State, which I don't know if I'd want to do that. And maybe Miami Heat if they don't lose Bam, maybe. But we'll see how that one plays out. I know the owner said that they're going to make a move before the draft. So, and he's Jimmy Haslam. I didn't know this guy also owns the Bucks and he owns the Cleveland Browns. Speaking of that, because I want to be ahead of schedule tonight, I'm going to try to cut the show about 5 minutes short again. Have you heard of Ted Turner? You know who the former owner of the Atlanta Braves is, and the former Atlanta Hawks owner, Ted Turner, folks, passed away this past week. And you know, this guy's a motivational story. His dad, and I looked this up because it was interesting because I was a Braves fan. You know, I like the Braves, you know, growing up. My dad was telling me they were garbage in the 70s. You know, when he bought them, built them up, and he sold Atlanta in his whole Turner empire for billions of dollars. I want to say 7.5 billion, between 7.3 and 7.5 billion, which includes TBS, CNN, and all this stuff. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So Ted Turner, folks, just hear me out here. He inherited his father's billboard company. His dad, in 1963, committed suicide, okay? He inherited this billboard company. It's worth about $1 million. This is in 63. I'll look that up. That's between $10 and $13 million. You and I know, even into nowadays money, you can go through $10 and $13 million off women and booze real quick. You know, that's not a lot of money. We've seen this in the NFL and other pro sports. 80-something% guys go broke. So instead of feeling sorry for himself, being down and out, he parlays this into a media company, which I read this book. Media company was Atlanta news station. Okay, turns this into CNN, which was kicked off June 1st, 1980, folks. June 1st, 1980 is when CNN came about. That's the first 24-hour news cycle. Then you get TBS. He parlays that into, you know, you got Turner Broadcast Station, which in the 70s, early 70s, he buys the Atlanta Braves, the garbage team, for pennies on the dollar compared to now, like $12 million, I want to say. And he puts them on there and builds them up. builds them up on TBS. He had TBS, then he has TNT, and then the Cartoon Network, Turner Classic Movies. Okay, built this total media empire out of that billboard company. He inherits from his dad that committed suicide in '63, and sells all that for $7.3 to $7.5 billion 30 years ago in 1996. You know, let me play this quote from him, which really motivated me this week, trying to build this SportsScope brand, working my butt off. This is from Ted Turner here on being successful. Listen up.
You better get out there and hustle. It's tough out there. It's, you know, there's a lot of other people trying to get to the top too. If you're gonna be an entrepreneur and if you want to be a success in life, you better be prepared to work hard and be smart and think a lot. At least I think so. Unless you're just a genius or you just are tremendously lucky. There's a little saying that I heard a long time ago. Secret of success is early to bed, early to rise, work like hell, and advertise. I lived in my office. I lived on a couch in my office for 10 years, and then luckily I got wealthy enough to build a little penthouse on the roof, so 700 square feet, and I moved up there. It was a lot nicer. Well, I just walked up the stairs, one floor, and my office was on the top floor, and I just walked up to go to bed, and that way I had another hour to work every day, because when I walked downstairs, I was instantly in my office without having to fight traffic. So I was able to work an hour, and I went to the games at night, and I'd get home at 11. I'd come back in the office, and I was right there 7 o'clock when I woke up to be at work at 8. And I worked 18 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Woo, hardcore. What do you think about Ted? Is that motivational or what?
Yeah, man, you got to be able to hustle, bro. And I believe in that. Like, you got to work hard, and, you know, it's just a different world right now, but those kind of things stay true to what you need to do and what needs to happen, you know. But again, everybody's got a different road they're going to take. So, you know, but at the end of the day, it's all concrete, and the rubber got to meet the road. So, you know, it's on you at the end of the day. It's on, you know, so
yeah.
But you know, rest in peace to Ted Turner.
Yeah.
The guy, you know, even because of him, they made the Ted Turner rule in baseball that owners can't coach their own baseball team.
Oh, did they really? Okay,
yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's a little baseball nugget. Like, because of Ted Turner, no baseball owner can be a manager can own their own team.
Wish they do that in the NFL with Jerry Jones, you know.
Yeah. So what? But no, and then, you know, they ended up replacing him. He had one game, he lost it against the Pirates. Then they got this coach. He was there for the rest of the season, and after that season ended is when Bobby Cox came in and turned it around for the Braves. So I forget what the coach's name was before Bobby Cox, but they made a rule, and MLB was like, no, sir, we don't want that to happen.
That's good insight, brother. I didn't know that. Also,
he took over the Braves because, like your dad says, it was terrible. They were on a 16 game losing streak. So he made it 17, and then they were like, no, go, you know.
Go get him in 76, and then he bought the Atlanta Hawks in 77. And they were garbage. And then they sold in 96 after they won the World Series in 95. But you remember the early 90s? They was in the World Series in 91. With Game 7 against the Tigers. Jack Morris versus John Smoltz, I want to say.
Yeah, so, that was in there.
Yeah.
They were NL East champs, I think, like 5 years in a row.
Maybe 15 years in a row or something like that.
No.
They only won one World Series.
Right. They only won one. And no, because in between the Phillies and the Mets won a couple.
All right, I'll look that up.
Yeah.
Titles.
I think it was like 5 or 6 in a row, and then they won a total.
Man, it was a whole lot more than that.
No, they won a lot of them, but they didn't.
But I'm talking about consistently from the 90s to the early 2000s. Hold on. 6 consecutive. Okay. Wait a minute. I thought it was more than that. It's got to be more here.
It's more than that, but it was 5 or 6 continuous. 6, yeah.
It did say 6. No, wait. Here we go. The Atlanta won 11 consecutive NL East titles from 1995 to 2005.
Yeah,
but St. Louis won the NL Central crowns 12. So, I mean, but still, dude, 95 to 2005. That's really impressive. That don't count before that.
Yep, no, but I know, but before 95, they had the 91, 92, 90, they had the Smoltz, Glavine, Avery, all those guys.
Yeah. Well, they got to the World Series a few times, and then they got to the NLCS a few times. Remember, Philadelphia beat them. Yankees beat them in the World Series in 96. That one really ticked me.
Twice to Toronto. They lost twice to Toronto, 90, 91.
Well, 91, they lost to Detroit. I thought Philly lost to Toronto in 92, actually. Remember Lenny Dykstra?
That's right. That's right.
Played on that team. John Kruk with his dirty hat, the dirty helmet.
They lost twice.
All that tobacco for that team, 92, maybe 93. But they were just really good. They were garbage, and he turned them into a winner. That kind of success with the Hawks. But the Hawks were a playoff team. You know, they were like an expansion franchise. So, really successful guy, you know, and coming back from that, that's got to be devastating for him. He's 24 years old. Think about it. He's 24 and 63. A lot of guys could have turned to alcohol and women and blown it. And no, he got down and he worked hard, and he built that media empire. I thought that was really inspirational. Wanted to ask you about another inspirational guy who called, I want to say, John Sterling of your Yankees. Radio called 30 years straight out missing a game, 1989 to 2019. What do you think about the passing of that legend? Also, I want to say 87 this week.
That's right. Yeah, he was, what they say here, man, he was the man. Like, you didn't, if you didn't have an opportunity to watch baseball, you heard his voice everywhere. Like, he also commentated on basketball games, and the Nets as well, a few other teams. So John Sterling, man, he worked hard. He did his thing, and him and Susan Waldron, did Yankee games on the radio, and it's like when you're growing up, that's all you heard, right? It was like, and that's kind of like what you got used to listening to. And as he got older, he started phasing out due to his illnesses and stuff like that. Everybody was like, well, who's going to replace this guy? And it's been a tough move for the Yankees to find.
Who has replaced him? Michael Kay?
Michael Kay has been doing some shows, and he's kind of he's on the broadcasting team with that, and David Cohn. They do things, but it's he's an icon, man. Like and the fact his voice, over the radio, not just his commentaries, he was unique in making up names for these guys, and
a name bomb from A-Rod. Let me play a clip for you, which, by the way, I hated the Yankees when they were in that run. They beat up on my Braves. They felt like they bought. But, hey, man, they were on a tear. Let me play this when they won their third World Series. And your boy, John Sterling. I found this the other day off TikTok. I think you'll like it.
These are 1 out away from another World Championship. Now Rivera is set. And the 0-1 swung on, hit in the air to deep center. Bernie back, away back. He's there. He makes the catch. Ball game over. World Series over. Yankees win. The Yankees win. The New York Yankees have once again reached the summit of the sports world. They've won their third straight championship, fourth in the last 5 years, and 26th all-time, the most successful team in the history of professional sports. starting the new millennium, the New York Yankees are once again world champions.
Was you bummed out about that because it was over your Mets?
No, I mean, listen, I didn't really. I don't know.
That was in 2000.
Yeah, I was in and out of like different places to watch. I went to Old Charlie's a few times to watch the game. I went to there was another place around town that I used to go to watch those games in Clarksville, and I was like, but I never stayed to watch the whole thing. I was just like, I didn't care to see who won that series, because either team that won, I was gonna be happy about. I mean, we even talked about it, because we were was it the year after they won that?
I met you in. Well, I know I did. I met you in 2002 because
so the year after. That's what I'm saying. The year after we met, we talked about that, and I was like,
yeah.
And you're like, oh yeah, I saw a lot of those games. I was like, shut up, bro. I was like,
I hated it, but you know what? I did enjoy one. Even though I hated the Yankees, one thing I enjoyed about living up there, I got a really good deal on Yankee tickets there, $8 bleacher seats, and got a chance to see those great players. I didn't see Rivera pitch, but I saw him down in the bullpen. I was in the stands above him. I was like, man, that's a Hall of Famer. You know, I think he's one of the only few relief pitchers ever to get unanimous Hall of Fame votes.
Yep.
You know, unanimous decision. I mean, hear what he said. He said 4 out of 5 years, 3. I mean, you talk about being sick of a team. If you're not a Yankees fan, it's like, golly. Maybe the Dodgers on a tear like that now, right? Ben Scully was their commentator too. He was a very good radio guy.
Yeah, I'm not.
A few years ago.
I don't know if the Dodgers can keep doing it. They're doing a good job right now of retaining talent, but it's tough when in baseball when it's just a few teams that are winning, and now there's more parity, I feel like, and there's opportunity. But then when you get towards the middle of the season, you already know some of these teams are going to make it, and some of them are not. So.
Yeah. And also it's if you're in it mathematically, and you get hot at the right time. You saw that with a team like Toronto last year. They almost freaking won the World Series. This time last year, I had some Toronto guys that worked for the organization. They had their doubts. They worked in the PR department. They wouldn't come on the program. They didn't want to get fired for me pounding them with some negativity. Anything else do you need to add?
No, man, rest in peace. The Yankees are going to be
Sterling and Ted Turner. Yeah, both 87, right?
Yeah. No, the Yankees are going to be wearing a patch for Sterling for the rest of the season. It's a New York icon, not just because of the Yankees thing, but again, he was on the radio for a lot of different teams. Yeah. He did his thing, and we're getting older. This happens to a lot of it, and just respect, and things are different, are changing now with the way the multimedia is, and how it's dispersed, and like a lot of kids don't even know what radio is, so it's like.
Did you listen to any of the games on the radio when you got bored? Like if you didn't get the game or whatever?
Quick story.
Yeah, no, you got time.
I was coming up. I only lived in New York for a year because I came up because my dad went to Desert Storm.
Yeah,
and so I came up.
Desert Storm in '90.
Yeah, in the '90s. So I lived 1 year in New York. Even though I was born in New York, I lived in Tennessee and I lived in Europe. But I was here in New York for 1 year, and so the whole time I was here, I lived with my grandma and my sisters, and so. All was on the TV was either like Spanish soap operas or like 90210 and the other one,
Beverly Hills 90210?
Yeah, Beverly Hills 90210. And then what was the other one that they gave after that one?
Melrose Place?
Melrose Place, yeah. Right? So there was only 2 TVs in the house.
Yeah.
So baseball's every night.
Yeah,
like they play like consistently. Like they might go through
radio.
I was on the radio, my man. I was on the radio at WFAN. Let's go Mets, and then I was on the radio with John Sterling and Susan Waldron. The Yankees won. The Yankees.
She's like 79. I didn't know how old she's up there too.
Yeah, and I forgot her name. We mentioned her a few weeks ago. I forgot her
Susan?
name, and but she's in the Hall of Fame for both of them are in the Hall of Fame for sportscasters. Here, so if you ever get a chance,
Waldron, yeah.
yeah, she just got nominated. I think she just got into the Hall of Fame a year ago.
She retired in April. Roger Clemens, 79 years old.
Yeah, so it was that was my experience. My experience with baseball. If I didn't go to the games, I was on the radio. I was listening to the radio and listening to these guys on the radio and for both teams,
Yeah.
And every once in a while, the game would come on Pix 11 or whatever. I'm like trying to catch it, and then as soon as like two innings go in, whether it was the Yankees and the Mets playing, they'd be like, "Nope, you got to change the channel. I got to watch my soap opera." It's like, oh Lord. So I grew up listening to radio with seeing the Mets. At least once I found out, and I used to listen to them on radio, and I didn't have to watch it on TV. And I was 10 years old. I was like, you know what? I could always catch the game on the radio. Yeah. And then I started listening to radio for football, for basketball, because I didn't have to be near TV. So
sometimes when you couldn't get it, you could get it on the radio. I mean, that's the thing. When I couldn't get a Braves game on TBS, you can go through the dial and potentially here in Nashville get it.
Yes.
Skip whatchamacallit on the radio as well. I forgot his name now. I skipped something. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I used to listen to the Braves games when they played the Mets.
Yeah.
And that was you're talking about AM station. That wasn't even on the FM. That was on AM.
Yeah. From Braves radio. What is his name? Braves Space. Now he's retired. Probably to Skip Carey.
Yeah, Skip Carey.
Yeah, he died in 1990. He died in 2008. He called Braves games for 33 years.
That's right.
Harry Carey. He was the son of Harry Carey and father of broadcaster Chip Carey. I mean, the Careys are legends. Yeah, Harry Carey's the freaking Cubs guy.
Right. A quick tidbit. I don't know if you know this, but if you were in Clarksville, you could hear Cubs games, you could hear the Reds games, and you can hear Braves games on
probably the Cardinals as well, because you're close to St. Louis.
And the Cardinals games, you could hear at least on the opposite station, so you could catch all those games. Because again, Tennessee doesn't have a baseball team, an MLB team. So, and there were a lot of Cardinal fans, Atlanta fans, and Cincinnati Red fans in Clarksville. So it was like a mush of different guys there because of the military, right? So
yeah, had people all over. Hey man, that's great insight. Mad New Yorker, everybody. Appreciate you again. You have a good week, buddy. All right, everybody. See you, man. I'll be back Monday. I have a recorded show. Talk about what happened this weekend. There may be a few things that may break this weekend. So hope you enjoyed the show. If you like the show, share the show. If you have not subscribed to the At The Real Sports Scope YouTube channel, subscribe to the Real Sports Scope YouTube channel, okay? I really need to get those numbers up. Get this show on the radio, okay? Have a good night, everybody. I'll talk to you then here on the Real Sports Scope.